Hey, what is going on, guys? XpertFusion here, and today I wanted to give a long analysis on Infinite Warfare Zombies, a kind of an argument per se for why I think this is a very good adaptation of the Zombies game mode in Call of Duty. Because I've heard of a lot of people saying lately a lot of bad things about IW Zombies. You know, I've been hearing those type of things for the past 2 years, ever since it came out. But, I've always kind of enjoyed Infinite Warfare Zombies. I wasn't the biggest fan of it at launch, but as time went on, I started finding a new appreciation for this game mode and found it to possibly be one of my favorite, adaptations of Call of Duty Zombies in any Zombies game ever. Not my favorite, but one of my favorites. And I thought I would give my argument as to why I think it's so good and why I think it's so amazing. In my opinion, since I see so many people hating on it, they kind of see it as the shittiest version of zombies out there, which, let's be real here, that's definitely Exo Zombies, but I think Infinite Warfare Zombies actually did pretty damn well with the 5 maps they were given. I mean, it was their first attempt at zombies, and I actually think they did a great job at it. I'm going to refute points, and I'm also going to give you what I didn't like about it, because, I'm not going to be completely biased analysis. I'm not going to give you that. I'm going to be as unbiased as possible by giving you both sides of the end, what I like, what I don't like, So let's get into this. So I'm just going to go through a bunch of different things that make me feel this way about Infinite Warfare Zombies, and I know it's very, very controversial because tons of people would disagree with me. There's also tons of people who agree with me completely. But starting off with the first thing, it's the fact that Infinity Ward and Lee Ross in general decides to put their game for gameplay over storyline. That's how they feel. Now, not saying Treyarch or World War II has storyline over gameplay, but there's been many occasions where they've tailored the gameplay based on the storyline. For example, they don't have certain perks or certain weapons on certain maps because of storyline. They don't add certain game modes because of storyline, and that pisses me off. I don't think they should do that. I think they should always have gameplay be the #1 priority. The reason is because everyone plays for the gameplay. Let's be real here. No matter who you are, you're going to be facing yourself with the gameplay, whether you're doing the Easter eggs, whether you're just having fun going for high rounds. It doesn't matter. You're going to be faced with the gameplay. Storyline is only for the select people who actually want to know what the story is and research stuff and figure things out, like ciphers and like completing Easter eggs. Not everyone who completes the Easter eggs actually cares about the storyline that's going on throughout the Easter egg quests. Trust me, it's a very select few people. I'm not saying I don't care about the storyline. I think the storyline in World War II and Treyarch Zombies is absolutely phenomenal, and I love following it and seeing what they do with it, but I just don't like it when they decide to make the storyline the only important feature of it, and they kind of just make the gameplay, meh, you know what I'm saying? And, I don't think they should ever tailor the gameplay based on the storyline. I just don't think they should ever do that. That's just my opinion on that, but tons of people will disagree with me on that because, look, story you only experience once, right? And then after that, it's just a memory. You don't re-experience stories, you see them again, I guess, but you can't learn anything that you already learned about it, you know what I'm saying? But gameplay, you can always get new experiences with the gameplay, and if they make it more replayable, then they'll make the gameplay more immersive and more of an important factor rather than storyline. So that's just my 4C on that. Next up, I want to talk about the map locations. I think the map locations are just so awesome. Just the overall idea of the maps being all in movies is so cool to me. So we have a theme park, which first of all is one of the most exciting locations to possibly have a zombies map, just based off of the Zombieland movie when they were fighting at the theme park. I've always wanted a theme park zombie map, but now we're getting one with Spaceland, and I find it to be so much fun. And just doing the rides, using the rides as traps, the tickets, the system, the whole arcade, the music playing. It's just such an awesome experience, Spaceland. Then you go to Raven the Redwoods, and it's an island. We've had many island maps before, like Zetsubo and such, but it still puts a unique taste on it by having a slasher type man, which I find to be so awesome. It has unique elements, like the drugs, I guess, you're taking. They're not really drugs. They're just kind of like pouches that make you see things, but they're basically drugs. Let's be real here. and they put you into rave mode, and it's all party themed. I like that. And then you go to Challenge Shuffle, which is in New York City. We have not had a New York City map before, and they have, it's the 70s, so you get to see the Twin Towers, you get to see the Empire State Building, you get to see like the subway. It's a very New York themed map, and I love that. Then you see the Attack the Radioactive Thing is at a beach in Los Angeles, which who wouldn't want that? That is an awesome location for a map, let's be real here. And it's got the whole 50s vibe to it. All the atmospheres on these maps, they all have different vibes to it. It's not like World War II zombies or even some other, Call of Duties out there, like Exo Zombies, where all the maps kind of feel the same. They don't feel like they're that different from each other. The atmosphere, they all feel like you're playing the same experience. But in Infinite Warfare, every map is different. Every map feels like a completely different experience, and that is great. Then you go on to Beast and Beyond, which isn't the greatest location in the world, but it's a space station on some random planet, and then you can go over to the theater. Not the coolest, but it's something, I guess. Next, the Wonder Weapons. I think Infinite Warfare Zombies has some of the most unique, most different, most awesome, and fun to use wonder weapons that we've ever seen in Call of Duty Zombies history. I'm not even lying. Comparing to Treyarch and Sledgehammer, I think these wonder weapons are so unique and so different. So starting off with Spaceland, we have 5 wonder weapons. Just remember that for a minute. There's a ton of weapons to use throughout the maps, which gives more replayability, which is great. You have weapons like the Discord, which is, spins around the zombies into some green gooey stuff. I don't know, but it looks absolutely awesome, and it's upgraded to be even better. Remember, all these weapons are upgraded. Then you go on to the Face Melter, which is one of the coolest ones. It's not the best, but it's definitely one of the coolest. It sends them straight into the sky and blows them up like a firework, and when you upgrade it, it's called the 4th of July, which is obviously very fitting. Then you get the Head Cutter, which is considered the best of all of the laser pistols on Spaceland. This one literally blows their faces off, and that's awesome in my opinion. And it also, attracts to other zombies, which is great. And last but not least, it's the Shredder, which kind of shreds them up into little tiny pieces. It's probably one of the worst out of all of them, but it's still really fun and enjoyable to use. You notice that with these wonder weapons in this game, even the really not that good ones are still really fun to use. Then you get the last wonder weapon on this map, which is the Forge Freeze, which can be upgraded twice. And Forge Freeze is pretty bad, but it's a ton of fun to use, so I don't even care that's trash. It's still really fun to use. And then we have Raven the Redwoods, which has the 4 crossbows, which are tons of fun to use. You have the Acid Rain, the Whirlwind, the Benjamin Franklin, as well as the Trap-O-Matic. All really fun to use, all really enjoyable to use. And then you also have the Smiley on this map, which is the awesome chainsaw that you get for completing the Easter egg, and then you can pick up off the wall after any game after that. And it was really overpowered before. They did patch it, and now it's not nearly as good, but it's still so much fun to just slice people with this thing. It's a ton of fun to use. Then you move on to Challenge Shuffle, and you have easily the best wonder weapon in Infinite Warfare Zombies history, possibly even one of the best in the entirety of all zombies, which is the Katana. The Katana, man, this thing is a reason enough to call Challenge Shuffle a great map, honestly, because it is so much fun to run around with this Katana. It can last for up to the 50s of just being overpowered. It's a one-hit kill, and when you upgrade it, it becomes even better. Double Pack-a-Punch it, and it's even better. I mean, the whole double pack system, I'll talk about that later, makes some of these weapons in this game so overpowered, it is insane. And then you also have the Nunchucks, which the Nunchucks are not as good as the Katana, but they're like the little sister to the Katana, sort of. That's kind of how I would see the Nunchucks as. Then you move on to Attack of the Radioactive Thing. Well, you could still, I guess, consider the 4 Chi abilities as 4 wonder weapons. They're the 4 different ones: the dragon, the lion, the tiger, and the snake. You can, I guess, count those as wonder weapons, but they're not really. I'm not counting them, but I'm just saying they're there too, just to add even more enjoyment to Challenge Shuffle. Then Attack of the Radioactive Thing, you only have one wonder weapon of the Mad Pistol, which is, it's an okay gun. Like I said, this map is not my favorite, but the wonder weapon, it's not the coolest in the world. Then you move on to Beast from Beyond, and you have the Venom X coming back from extinction. It's really not that good, but it does pack a punch to the Venom Y, and then double pack to the Venom Z, which is actually a good, decent version of this weapon. It's not really that good with the X and the Y, but the Z is actually pretty damn good. and you can pick up ammo from the zombies, so it's, you know, it has pretty much limited ammo, just like the Mad pistol from Telltale Games Thing. And boom, that's all the wonder weapons. And then you have all the melee weapons that I haven't even counted, which I don't consider them wonder weapons, but you have tons of melee weapons. You have the axe on Spaceland, you have the machete, the double-handed axe, you have the golf club and the spiked baseball bat on Raven Redwoods. Shell and Shuffle, obviously, I already talked about the katana and the nunchucks, which I consider wonder weapons, and the smiley, and then you just have tons of other fun melee weapons that the characters already have with them before, you know, the game even starts, which they kind of had those for Spaceland, Rave, and Attack. The other two maps didn't really bother with them. They just had normal punches as the melee, but it was still cool to see them on those other maps nonetheless. Another awesome thing I gotta talk about is the perks, the whole perks system in this game, that I think I'm going to compare it to Treyarch, even though I don't like comparing it to Treyarch, because when a lot of people compare it, they act like if it's not better than Treyarch, then it's complete trash. That's what people act like. But I think, obviously, you know, Treyarch's a million times better than any of these other developers, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to be able to enjoy it on the off season, you know, when there's no Treyarch zombies and I want to play some Infinite Warfare zombies. I still think people need to, they can compare them as much as they want, but people need to stop acting like if it's not better, then it's just complete trash. They need to do that. But the perk system in Infinite Warfare Zombies I like a lot better than the Black Ops 3 perks, and I'll explain why. So in Black Ops 3, we had 9 perks in total. There were, you know, only 9 perks on every single DLC map. There was the same 9 perks, okay? Shadows of Evil obviously had a few less, but it was still the same perks. There was nothing more than what we had on those DLC maps. Just those 9, and that's it. There was nothing, no variety, no differences between the perks. Literally one new perk throughout the entirety of Black Ops 3 as well. Then we move on to Infinite Warfare Zombies, which this is their first iteration of zombies. Let me make that clear. Their first map ever. They put 10 perks on their first map, including a couple of new ones like Slappy Taffy, which is a completely original idea, as well as Trailblazers, which is obviously taken from a community-made perk called Banana Colada, and I think that it is just an awesome perk. And Black Ops 3 was not able to bring back PhD in its original form, and neither was really Black Ops 2. I mean, they kind of had it in Origins, and they kind of had it in Buried, but it didn't, well, they did have it in Origins, but it didn't have the Mustang and Sally, so it was kind of like, okay, well, what's the big idea? But Infinite Warfare was able to add PhD on their first map, okay? They had 10 perks, which is more than frickin' Treyarch ever did on one map. I think the most Treyarch ever had was 9, and that was in their, you know, Black Ops 3 maps, as well as in Origins. And then they added 2 brand new perks throughout the entirety of the series, which is better than just having one new perk. I guess they also had Slappy Taffy and Trailblazers, which were also kind of new perks. So I guess in total there's like 4 new perks. But they added Deadeye Dewdrops, which is basically Deadshot, but it's much better than Deadshot Daiquiri from Treyarch. Much better. Insanely better. The fact that it does more things, like does more headshot damage the longer you're aiming down sights, is actually a very useful feature that Treyarch's Deadshot does not have. It also added in Change Juice, which allows you to do cool special abilities with each bullet when you get a headshot. Every now and then with headshots, not every headshot. And it changes up every now and then, like there's the electric attack, there's the explosion, there's the like green gas type explosion, there's the purple ooze that comes out, the fire, tons of different ones that you can get, and it completely makes headshots that much more useful. Like that compared with Deadshot is just so overpowered. It is amazing. And just don't forget the fact that they had 12 perks on some of these new maps. They had 12 perks on Beast from Beyond and Attack Red Active Thing. Never had anything like that. You could also get up to 5 perks instead of just getting the normal 4, which is great. There's also no Perkaholic, which I think is a good thing. I don't think people should be able to get Perkaholic easily. There is the Ghost and Skulls Gobblegum, but they didn't add that in until like after DLC 4, and you still have to do something to even get it. You don't just get it straight out of the way, which makes it a lot more fair, I guess you can say. They also have Director's Cut, which I'll talk about a little bit later, but, you know, also lets you get all perks in the game, which is a ton of fun to have all the perks. Let me just get that out of the way. And Meal Munchies actually tells you what your meal kit gun is, so you don't forget. I think Meal Kit needs to do that in the future, because I get so pissed when I don't remember what my Meal Kit gun was, and then I lose it because I will go down. So I think the perk system in Infinite Warfare Zombies is just so much superior to any other perk system I think we've ever had. Maybe, I probably like Black Ops 2's perk system better, but just comparing it to Black Ops 3, definitely comparing it to World War II, I like Infinite Warfare's system better. Another thing that I think needs to be talked about is the guns and weapon variety in each map. So one thing in particular that I really like about Infinite Warfare is the fact that they have so many different weapons to use, and they're so unique. They actually change when you pack-a-punch them. Not like Black Ops 3 where the weapons literally stay the same when you pack-a-punch them. But Infinite Warfare weapons, certain weapons that may not be full auto, turn full auto when you pack-a-punch them. Certain weapons might go akimbo when you pack-a-punch them. Kind of like how Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2 did their pack-a-punch system, which obviously I think is how they should do it from now on. And it's one problem I had with Black Ops 3 Zombies. But they also have a ton of variety in wall weapons. You look at Black Ops 3, which I know I'm comparing to Black Ops 3 a lot, but that's probably the most similar game to Infinite Warfare. They literally have like the same wall weapons on every map, with a exception of a few maybe. But the variety of wall weapons on each and every one of these maps are just, they're completely different. Even the starting room weapons are completely different. They change them up every map to make it completely unique. They even put bazookas and sniper rifles on the walls in certain maps, and they make it fit the theme of the map. Like, for example, Attack of the Radioactive Thing is the most classic map out of all of them because it takes place in the 50s, so they put the most classic weapons on the wall, like the Trencher and the Intervention and, the Spaz 12, the weapons that are the most classic. They're not the laser weapons. They put those ones on the wall to make it feel more like a classic map, which I find to be so awesome. Another thing that I think is so great about Infinite Warfare Zombies is the soundtracks. Now, this is an exception with a few maps. Not really completely, but hear me out. Spaceland, holy shit. Spaceland has a ton of just amazing 80s music going on throughout the map, and this is not even including the Easter egg songs that you can unlock via doing different steps. I think those steps are a little too tedious though for just an Easter egg song, but they still have tons of originally made Easter egg songs like how Treyarch does on their maps that you can play. But the one thing that I feel like Treyarch always needed to do is allow you to replay these songs over and over and over again in your game, but you can't do that in Treyarch. But in Infinite Warfare, we have constant music playing throughout the map. We have all sorts of 80s songs playing on Spaceland, and they fit the theme of the map too. Raven Redwoods has tons of ravey type 90s songs playing in the party area. Shout and Shuffle has tons of 70s songs that you would probably hear in certain locations, like for example the Disco Inferno plays certain songs that are more disco-like. Then the pub has different rock songs going on. The subway just has a normal radio station going on. And even the strip club has some music that fits the theme of the strip club. They all fit the area. Tech Radioactive Thing doesn't really have much music on it, but every now and then you'll hear some cool 50s songs throughout, near the diner and near the cars that are playing on the radio station, stuff like that. And Beast from Beyond doesn't really have much at all, but it still has an Easter egg song, which is actually a pretty good Easter egg song nonetheless. Another thing that I think needs to be mentioned is the fact that we have these really cool celebrities to play as on every map. You got David Hasselhoff, you got Kevin Smith, you have Pam Grier, and you have Elvira. It would be nice to have people that I actually kind of know. The only one out of all these that I actually know is David Hasselhoff, and Kevin Smith I kind of know. But the other ones, they're just random people to me. I think it would be cooler. But, at the same time, I don't really care. I think it's cool how they have, these kind of NPCs that are in the map with you, and you can get them to fight alongside with you, and then after you complete the Easter eggs you can unlock them and actually play as them, which I find to be really, really awesome. And they have special melee attacks that the other characters obviously don't have. And another thing I want to mention is just overall there's just so much stuff to do in this map. You have so many different traps and so many different buildables that you can do, and I know Treyarch does a great job at this, especially in Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 2. But I just think having a ton of stuff to do in the maps is so important. Like Origins, for example, just has a ton of different things. I think Spaceland, Shout and Shuffle, and Raven Redwoods did a great job at this. Not so much the other two maps, but I still think these maps have tons of stuff to do. And the fact that they just never get boring for me, I can go on to really high rounds and still have an enjoyable time. One thing that I think is very, very important to mention as well is the fact that high rounds are a lot more fun to do in Infinite Warfare, in my opinion, because they're not so easy to get to. You know, it's not like there's these overpowered abilities, Pack-a-Punch abilities, or overpowered Gobblegums to help you get to round 100 really easily. No, Infinite Warfare, you have to actually use your own skill and your own abilities to actually be able to get the high rounds, which I feel to be very different than Treyarch Zombies. Also, I want to talk about the Easter egg quests. These are going to be included in my what I don't like about Infinite Warfare section of this video, which is going to be towards the end. But I think the Easter egg quests overall, most of them are good. I think they're really enjoyable to do. Specifically, Spaceline or Raven Redwoods, I really like how there's really nothing too complex about them. Definitely the variety in Easter egg quests is great. You know, if you want to do your simple Easter egg that doesn't really have much difficult steps, you have Spaceline or Rave. If you want to do your complex but still possible to do Easter egg, you know, easier to do Easter egg, you would do Beast from Beyond. And then the two, very complex, takes a long time to do, takes a lot of knowledge and a lot of cheat sheets to be able to complete, would be obviously Shell and Shuffle and Tackle the Radioactive Thing. Also, I freaking love the boss fights. I think the boss fights are really unique and awesome and entertaining. And you can't forget about the Mistopheles boss fight. I'm going to talk about the super Easter egg in just a second, but the Mistopheles boss fight is easily the hardest boss fight we've ever seen in Zombies history, and it's a ton of fun to do, I gotta say. And you can't just forget about the Easter egg rewards either. The Easter egg rewards are so freaking good. So on Spaceland, you are able to unlock Double Pack-a-Punch, which, first of all, is great in itself. Raven Redwoods, you unlock the ability to use the Smiley afterwards. Katana on Shell and Shuffle. You don't really get much for the other two maps, but if you do every map, you do unlock, of course, Director's Cut mode, which gives you all the perks and starts off with 25,000 points every game, as well as every gun in the box is already Pack-a-Punch and Double Pack is already unlocked, as well as the wonder weapons on the map are already in the box, so you don't have to, you know, go out of your way to try to build them. And then if you complete every Easter egg again, you go over to the Mistopheles boss fight and you do the super Easter egg, which is just a ton of fun to do. I think it is a million times better than any super Easter egg that any other developer has ever done, even though we really haven't had that much. Also, the Gobblegum system, which is obviously called the Fate and Fortune card system, is 10 times better than the Gobblegum system because it's not overpowered. You know, that's something so annoying about Gobblegums, is the fact that so many of them are so overpowered, and it makes zombies way too easy. The Fate and Fortune cards are not overpowered, so they don't take too much, you know, out of us. They don't take too much skill out of us, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And then you have World War II's Gobblegum system, the consumables, which are just so underpowered and they're so shitty and worthless, which I like that better than Gobblegums, but I'm just saying, overall, I feel as though, you know, Infinite Warfare is a good middle ground. They're useful, they help you out in certain situations, but they're not overpowered. And that's so important to me, is the fact that they're not overpowered. Also, the level up system, the variant system, and the supply drop system, I actually really love in Infinite Warfare Zombies. I think it's better just to go straight up the levels instead of going to prestiges and such. I think the variants for the weapons make every weapon unique. You can have all sorts of new types of weapons that you can unlock via supply drops or with enough salvage. They have the contract system where you can unlock different challenges and do different challenges weekly and daily as well. And supply drops, you know, the keys you get and the salvage you get also goes towards multiplayer. So, you know, you can share them between the two. So you have to play multiplayer, you can go over back to zombies, and you still earn the same keys, which I think is something that Black Ops 3 should have done. That is everything I like. There's probably more, but that is the majority of the stuff I love about this game. I think it's fair to mention what I don't like as well, so I'm going to get into that right about now. One thing that kind of rubs me the wrong way, I don't really find it to be that big of an issue, but it's the cartoon cutscenes. Like, I understand that's the tone they go for, and they're not doing it because they're cheap or they want to be cheap or whatever. That's not why they do it. They do it because it fits the atmosphere, it fits the tone of the game. So I understand that, but I don't know, I think it would have been a lot more enjoyable to watch the cutscenes, because like I never was excited to watch cutscenes in Infinite Warfare, you know, because the storyline, like I said, was never really that exciting. But, you know, I also kind of, like I said in what I like about it, sort of kind of liked that they didn't take the storyline so seriously. But at the same time, I think they could have, you know, taken it as a joke, but also did, you know, actual 3D cutscenes. But I digress. Another thing is the magic wheel. Look, the magic wheel system and just how it works is pretty terrible. Now, I'll explain why. So in Treyarch Zombies, I'm not too sure how it works in World War II, but I know in Treyarch Zombies, they like to set things. So you're always going to be guaranteed a certain weapon at a certain point. You're not going to hit the box a million times and never get what you're looking for. It's going to give you what you want eventually, which is a good system because it makes it fair. It makes it so you're not sitting around at a box all day hitting it one after one trying to get a certain weapon that you just can't seem to get. They make it fair. They make it so you're going to get certain things. Also, the teddy bear is not, every couple hits. It's literally it can be after 20 hits, it can be after 10 hits, it can be after, I think the minimum's 4 or 5 or something like that. But it's, more fair. But the problem with the Infinite Warfare Magic Wheel is it seems like they make it so some of the guns, they just don't care and they will make you wait ages to get. For example, on Beasts from Beyond, the Kendalls are so rare, and I know they set them to make it more rare than the other weapons because you could literally hit the box a million times and never get it. And the problem with that is that you need the Kendalls for if you want to complete the Mistopheles Easter egg. Trust me, you kind of need it. I mean, I guess you don't need it, but you're probably gonna die without it. And it kind of ruins the whole speedrunning aspect of Easter eggs, or even just the aspect of completing Easter eggs in its own, because it's I'm literally sitting at a box 90% of the time trying to get these Kendalls and I just can't do it. It should guarantee you them eventually. There should be a certain point where it's okay, we will give you it. And it gets ridiculous because the teddy bear, which is the astronaut in this game, is so common. You get it after every 5 hits or 6 hits or something like that. And it's just, I can literally hit the box 3 times and it's oh, there's another teddy bear and I gotta go run across the map and find the next box. I think they need to decrease, I mean, obviously the game life cycle's over, they're probably not going to make any updates to it, but I think to make it better, they could make it so teddy bear's less common, a lot less common, maybe make the minimum a little higher, so more hits until you get it, and also just make it more fair for the weapons, make it easier to get the Kendalls out of the box, make it easier to get the Mauler, make it easier to get the weapons that they really make it hard to get on, Beast from Beyond specifically. I really didn't have much of a problem with this on other maps other than Beast from Beyond. I feel like the box is actually kind of fair on the other maps, but just Beast from Beyond in general. Next up, I have another problem with zombie collisions in this game. There's something about the zombie collisions and the zombie AI that's not really, it feels clunky. It feels like you can get stuck in a corner and you shoot a zombie to get out of the way and you run through it, and it feels like it's almost like World of War type clunky. They kind of, when they hit you, you kind of fall back a little bit and you get grabbed forward and you can't really do much. It's not like, Black Ops 3 or Black Ops 2 where it's much more fluid movement. You can easily, go around a zombie and it's not like, you don't get your ass handed to you that easily. But some people might like this because it makes it a little bit more difficult, and I can see where they're coming from. Honestly, I do like difficult, maps. I think they're better difficult. But I feel like it's just really obnoxious when you okay, I should not have gone down right there. There's no way I deserve to go down from that situation. And I feel like I get that a lot. Another thing are the maps are just very glitchy. Honestly, the amount of glitches I've gone across in Infinite Warfare definitely surpasses Treyarch and Sledgehammer games for sure, because literally trying to do some of these Easter eggs, I've failed because of glitches. I remember this, okay, first of all, the Spaceline Easter egg, there was a glitch where I couldn't pick up the Sedicom after completing it. That pissed me off. Raven Redwoods, I don't think I had too many problems with it, but Shell and Shuffle, I remember the Easter egg was, uncompletable on Xbox, and I kept contacting, Infinity Ward, and eventually Lee Ross actually replied to me on Twitter, which was great, and they ended up fixing it, which was good. But in it, what the glitch was, you literally couldn't do the rat step, the rat king steps or whatever like that when he spawns in, because he would spawn at a bunch of colors. Your screen would freak out and have a seizure with a bunch of colors popping up, and you couldn't see anything, and you'd be fucked, and then you would lose. And they ended up fixing it, which was great. But why was the glitch there in the first place? It was there for a while too. It's not like the other maps in Treyarch where they have glitch, they usually fix it pretty quick. It took them a while to fix this one. Maybe it was because I was not on Xbox, maybe that's why. But I don't know, I felt like it was a really obnoxious glitch, and I feel like I've come across a lot more that tend to have to do something with the Easter egg, and it's it just ruins it because you're so far into the Easter egg quest, and you're like, wow, the map's glitched out. What am I gonna do? I have to restart now. And it sucks when that happens. It really does. I mean, I can't say Treyarch doesn't the same thing happen, but I feel like I get it more in Infinite Warfare than I ever had. And the last thing I'm going to say is some of the Easter egg steps can be pretty tedious. Now, I kind of went over before, I like the Easter eggs. I like how they all feel different from each other. So if you want to play the really tedious ones, you can. If you want to play the really easy ones, you can. If you want to play the hard but simple ones, you can. If you want to play the easy but tedious ones, you can. And it's kind of like, it's fair, you know? But there's a few steps here and there that I really just don't like. A few of those would be an attack of the radioactive thing. I absolutely dread the freaking chemistry steps. Having to get the little thingies and find the chemical equations and stuff. That pisses me off. The Morse code, I can see why people don't like it. I like it personally, but I can see why people don't. The one step with the letters and shell and shuffle, I don't mind the step, but it can be very tedious. It can be very annoying. Some Beasts from Beyond steps are just really obnoxious, like the one where you have to carry the robot. I have to rely on a glitch to be able to do that one easily without using gobblegums, of course. But, and there's this one step on Shell and Shuffle during the boss fight where you have to kill the zombies in the goo. I feel like that step is kind of unbalanced, but it's doable, I guess you could say. And overall, like I said, I still love Infinite Warfare. I just think those are some problems. I can't, do a fair, unbiased review without, talking about the bad things about it, because nothing's perfect, right? So hopefully you guys enjoyed this IW Zombies review sort of video. Just, obviously it's a pretty old game mode now, but I think it's nice to mention. And if you guys haven't played it, I really recommend playing it. It's a really fun zombies experience. I would say the first 3 maps are the best. If I were to give like a ranking of all the maps, I would say Spaceline's the best, Shell and Shuffle is the second best, Raven Redwoods is third best, Beast from Beyond's the 4th best, and Attack of the Radioactive Thing is probably the worst. That's my opinion, though. You might feel differently. A lot of people do feel differently. A lot of people say Shallon's the worst, but, it's all up to opinion, I guess. I think it's a solid game mode. I think you should all try it out, if you haven't already, of course. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Peace out.